everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrader. I'm a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today, I'm going to go back in time and tell you what I would do if I was homeschooling kindergarten for the first time. Lately, I've had quite a few people who have actually reached out, DM'd me, sent me messages asking all kinds of questions about homeschooling kindergarten. How to start homeschooling kindergarten, what to use, what curriculum. I've even had a couple coaching clients who have reached out and specifically had concerns about getting started in kindergarten and like what that can entail. And I thought maybe I should go back in time and tell you guys what I would do. So having homeschooled for the last 6 years, I have a little bit of experience. I have a teaching degree. I also have lots of experience with homeschooling, with coaching, with helping other parents with homeschooling. So I thought I would do a little video that if I were to go back in time and I had to start homeschooling a kindergartner all over again, what would I do? So that's what I'm going to do today. If I went back 6 years and I was homeschooling Alexi for the first time, what would that look like? Given everything that I know now, all of my practice, experience, curriculum, knowledge, all that, what would I do? Before we get into that, there's a few things I like to remind parents about kindergarten because a lot of people freak out about kindergarten. And I know it's a big rite of passage. Like it's a big thing when your kids start their like more formal education. I understand. But there's some things that we need to clear up before we get into homeschooling because it's going to make your life so much easier once you understand these things. Number one, we need to talk about the aging of kindergarten. This affects a lot of things that people don't realize, and it makes your life easier when you understand. So specifically here in Ontario where I live, kids can start kindergarten as young as 3, provided that they are turning 4 before December 31st, because children are clumped together by calendar year. So kids who are born in 2015 are all one grade from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. So given that, sometimes in Ontario, we have kids who are starting school as young as 3. That's when they're starting kindergarten. This is important to remember because that is not always the case in other places. For example, in the United States, that is not the case. That would be considered preschool. In most states, kids have to be turning 5 before the first day of school. So depending on where they are, that often means they have to be 5 before August or September 1st because they run a 1-year kindergarten and many places here in Canada run a 2-year kindergarten program. So that is very important to realize because when kids are that young, a year makes a big difference. A year makes a very big difference emotionally, like psychologically, their ability to understand things. A year makes a huge difference at that age. So when we're looking at curriculums, even when they're labeled kindergarten, if they're American, they might be too advanced for your 3 or 4-year-old because of the way the system's set up. So that's the first thing to understand. We are set up a little bit differently here in Canada, and that's okay. We have a different system, a different approach, but I want you guys to realize that sometimes when you get curriculums that it's going to be a little advanced. And there's different ways you can handle that. Some people just take the curriculum and divide it over 2 years, which is a great option. Some people will get something maybe a little bit simpler and then move on to something a little bit harder, like a true kindergarten curriculum in like senior kindergarten. There's lots of ways to approach it. I just want you to be aware of it. Okay? Because it does make a difference. The other thing that I like to tell parents is because you're homeschooling and in Canada, you have the legal right to homeschool how you see fit. So just because the school is doing play-based learning, you don't have to do play-based learning. If you know that in your province, they're doing really structured, you have to sit in a desk all day kindergarten, which I don't think any of them are, but like hypothetically speaking, you don't have to do that. You get to structure your day the way you want. You get to take the best of both worlds and blend them together to make the homeschool that works best for you and your child and your family. So we don't have to spend all day playing and try to figure out how you're going to trick the kids into learning their letters. We don't have to do that. We can do a lot of other things and still have a very educational homeschool setting. And it's probably going to look nothing like school, and that's okay. That's actually kind of the point. Number 3, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give to anybody who's homeschooling kindergarten is the goal of kindergarten should be to start setting up the structures and the routines that I want to continue in my homeschool. So this is a great time to start setting up things like, every morning after breakfast, we sit down and we read a book. Every morning after that, then we're going to, do a one worksheet or whatever you want your day to be in the future. Think of like when they're like 6, 7, 8, what do you imagine your homeschooling to be, that they're going to be sitting down, doing a little bit of work. We're going to have a tea time. We're going to do this and that. Start building that slowly now. We're establishing those schedules and those routines now, and then slowly building on them. So when I started homeschooling kindergarten, that's exactly what we did. We would wake up in the morning after breakfast. We would read a book. We'd do a couple little things. Then we would do 1 page of language, 1 page of math, and then we were done. And they were very short pages. They were very easy activities, but usually, and then that was it. Now our day is a little more complicated, a little more structured 6 years later, but it follows a very similar routine. So we wake up and we have breakfast. After breakfast, we do some like chill learning, which for us is like reading, word games, some morning basket stuff. And then we move on to, some like family learning. And then they do their math and their language separate. And then we move on for the rest of the day. We've established this routine. Yes, the time length of each item has grown and the difficulty of each skill has grown, but it's a very similar pattern to what we were doing when they were 4. And so I think that's a really great way to think about kindergarten, is that they're going to be learning, but we're also learning to establish a routine that's going to be part of our life forever, or at least for a long time, moving forward. And that's really does make homeschooling a lot easier when we start establishing those patterns young. And then the last thing I want to tell you before we get into what I would do if I was homeschooling kindergarten all over again, is to remind you how short a kindergartner's attention span is. Kindergartners are typically going to be able to handle 15 to 20 minutes of seated work total a day. That's about it. So if you are sitting down and expecting your kids to be able to do an hour-long lesson and a bunch of activities, that's not realistic. You are going to be so frustrated and so overwhelmed. We need to be really realistic with what's happening. There's a lot of things that I would do differently than what I did before. Like I did get frustrated with how little they sat and all of this. I'm telling you now, they don't need it. We can definitely do small blocks. Now, for example, maybe you have a really precocious kid who can do 30 minutes. We don't have to do the 20 or 30 minutes all in one block either. We can break up that 20 or 30 minutes as well. We don't have to do it all in one block. So if you're saying, hey, my kid can only sit for 10 minutes, amazing. Do 10 minutes, play for a little bit, have a mid-morning snack, and then say, okay, after snack time, we're going to do 10 more minutes of this, and then do 10 minutes of that. That's it. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be all in one block. We can spread it out over the day, and you can do things like, read while they're having a snack. You can read at bedtime. You can break this up throughout the day. But when we're talking about them sitting down and doing actual focused activity, they're going to cap out 10 to 20 minutes. And if you can do 2 blocks of 15, you're doing amazing. We're hitting big milestones here. So keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it fun, and you'll be fine. Here we go. If I were to go back in time and do kindergarten all over again, or if I had a magical 4-year-old who just appeared in my house and I needed to homeschool them today, what would my kindergarten look like? All right. First off, first thing that I would introduce is a morning basket. I would have a morning basket. The basket would have different things in it that we would use to start our day. And it would be kind of a consistent, every day is very much the same. So I would probably start with a calendar, like a dry erase calendar, and go over what today's date is. Today is Monday, September 4th, 2025. I don't actually know if that's a date. I'm just saying hypothetically. And that's what we do. Yesterday was, today is, tomorrow will be, today's weather is, the season is, and what are we going to do today? That would be the first thing I do. Then I would do something fun. I like to start with like a brain booster. So something that is just like fun information. So I love these like weird but true books. National Geographic has a whole bunch of weird but true. They also have a bunch called Brain Candy. Same idea, but it's just like a bunch of fun facts. My kids loved those. Those are a great thing to get you started, kind of just wake up the brain. Another fun thing that we would do was like search and finds kind of things. So like the I Spy books, Where's Waldo, something that's just like an easy activity to kind of get us awake. So that's the next thing. And then I would do poetry. I would get a book like this. This is one of my favorites, Sing a Song of Seasons, every day, because we want to keep it really simple. It has a date. So this is March 31st poem. It's daffodils. I don't have to think. I just open it up and they're really sweet little poems. It's got gorgeous illustrations. Some of them are really short, which is kind of nice. Read a little poem and just like start your day with that. And then I would read a book. So I would have a read aloud that for kindergarten, I would stick primarily junior and senior kindergarten, just picture books. And I would just get a whole bunch of picture books and we would read one every day and it would be a different one every day. I like to, if they want to read a book again and again, because kids do like to do that, I save those books for bedtime. But during school time, we're going to read a new book every day. And I would pick a book that is based on our monthly theme. So first, morning basket. Second, we would have a monthly theme. I just think a theme for the month gives you a little bit of direction and a little bit of structure without being overbearing. So when I pick themes for our homeschool, especially in kindergarten, which we have done forever, something kind of generic and simple that I can get lots of books for. But it does give me a little bit of structure. Okay. So, I would pick something. So some of the favorite ones that we've done, we did a whole month of like letters and numbers, and we just got books that featured letters and numbers. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, the Zero series. Like there's just so many counting books, letter books, like all kinds of alphabet books, number books. We got a whole bunch of books like that, and we just read different ones every day. Okay. You could do colors. We did a whole month of colors. Red is best. What color is the rainbow? Like just all kinds of different color books. Seasons are a great option. So you can definitely do like fall, winter, spring, summer. That's four themes right there. And then when you're picking for a season, you can definitely get like holidays that are included in that season. So maybe for fall, you're going to pull like Thanksgiving and Halloween books. Maybe in the winter you pull some Christmas or Valentine's books. Spring, maybe there's Easter. Like there's lots of options that you can do. They're generic, but they're nice and big themes that you can get a lot of things. And then it also gives you more options to pick for your kid. So like my kids were pretty good. They loved anything animals, not so much into anything with vehicles. They're not really car construction kids. Maybe yours is. Pick books that fit them. We also loved zoo. We did bugs. We did forest and forest animals. We did nocturnal animals one year. That was a hit. Music, gardens, seeds, growing, anything like that was a hit. And then maybe ask your kids, because sometimes they have great ideas. One year we did, I think Alexia was grade 1. But I did it with Zoe. We did Powerful Women. They loved that. We read biographies of women all month and they were just fascinated. But yeah, so pick a theme. And that is kind of your guide. So once you have a theme, it gives you a little bit of structure and idea of what to do that month so that you're not feeling like, I don't know what to do. It gives you something to support, something to scaffold off of. So the theme is giving you book ideas. It can also give you activity ideas and field trip ideas. So if you're saying, hey, we're going to do a unit on gardens, perfect. We can do an activity like planting some seeds. We can go to a garden center. We can go to like a public garden if you have one nearby. We can grow some seeds in a plastic bag and see the root systems go. There's lots of different activities you can do based off of your theme. And I would pick like 1 to 4 activities a month that are like above and beyond what you're doing. That's more than enough. And just do those. And if you're looking for ideas, Pinterest is fantastic. I'm just saying. 99% of my homeschool creative ideas I have found on Pinterest. Beg, borrow, and steal, people. Beg, borrow, and steal. So we have a morning basket. We have a theme of the month. And then from there, I would focus on language and math. Keep it simple because all of your science, social studies is all being done through your themes, whether you realize it or not. That's what you're doing. And then your language and your math, we can work on a couple skills. So for language, here's what I would focus on. A curriculum that focuses on for junior kindergarten or like first year kindergarten to 4-year-olds, one that is focusing on drawing letters and their upper and lower cases and being able to identify them. That would be my focus for 1 year. Then the second year, I would be focusing on the sounds they make. You can start that when you're starting younger, but the second year I would move very heavily into phonics and focusing on the sounds letters make. And that would be my focus. So generally speaking, you can find a lot of options out there for like writing books. I found some really great ones at the dollar store. You can find some at like your local Chapters or Indigo for really inexpensive because your first year you're focusing on drawing the letters. They're a little more doable, but I'm going to give you some options if you wanted something maybe a little more rigorous. I'll give you some options. So I'm going to give a Christian option and I'm going to give you a secular option. If you are looking for a Christian curriculum that is a language arts curriculum, I would highly recommend going with The Good and the Beautiful. It is a simple curriculum. It is very easy to use. You can purchase it and it comes physical books, all of that, which might be a great option if you have multiple kids you plan on homeschooling. You can also download it for free and print it off yourself. That is also an option with The Good and the Beautiful. So there's that. That would probably be my top recommendation if you're looking for a Christian language arts program and start with level K, and be aware that you might take 2 years to do it because it is a bit of a blend of writing and sounds. It might take you 2 years and that's okay. Okay. If you're looking for a secular option, again, I would go to your local Chapters or Indigo and see what they have because they will have some kindergarten options like a Canadian Complete or an English Smart. They would have those. Those would be like a great starter. You can also go online. I'll put links for 2 different letter of the week packets from TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers. Those are fantastic. That's what I use. I found them a little bit more, there's a little bit more meat to them. And it wasn't just, let's draw the A 15 times. There was like, let's draw A, let's identify A, let's match A. Like there was a little bit more substance to it. The thing with TPT, which I love, it's a great platform. I'm going to put 2 links for you of different options that are great. My biggest tip with TPT, if the item is not on sale, because sometimes these especially when you're doing a letter of the week packets, it's a lot of worksheets. For these more expensive packets, I think the one I suggested was $40 or $50 regular price. If you put those in make an account and put them in your wish list, and join their mailing list, TPT has big site-wide sales on a regular basis. I want to say three times a year. And I know for a fact there's going to be one in August. Okay. So put them on there and you'll save some, usually it's 20 to 30% off. So that's my tip. Those are language arts. If you're looking for math, which would be my next thing for kindergarten, I want to focus on numbers, junior kindergarten, numbers 1 to 10, 2D shapes, colors, and comparison. So that, this is bigger than this. This is taller than this. This is hotter than this. This is colder, that kind of stuff. If you're looking for a Christian curriculum, I'm going to give you 2 options. The Good and the Beautiful, again, is a very popular one. People really like it. It is also a very solid program. You can download it for free or buy it. I know a lot of people prefer to buy that one because it comes with a lot of manipulatives and they do find that the manipulatives do help. It is a little pricey to ship it across the border, but it is a great program. My other recommendation, which is the one that I used, was master books, and I would start with level K. Master books, math lessons for living education. I believe it has a fish on it, is the kindergarten one. My kids loved it. It's simple. I like that it had copy work in it, and it did go over those specific skills quite well, and it felt easy enough and gentle enough that we could do it. If you're looking for a secular option, there are a couple options out there. You could, again, go to your local chapters, Indigo type of store, and look for a kindergarten curriculum. You can look for Canadian Complete. You could look for like a Math Smart. Complete Math Smart would be a great option for kindergarten. And then you could also look at something like Spectrum or Jump Math as a beginning starter point, knowing full well that come grade 1, you're probably going to want to look for something a little bit more robust. But it is a great starting point for just learning how to draw a number, what numbers mean. So 2 means 2 things, shapes, colors, those kinds of things. The nice thing about kindergarten is you have a lot of options because kindergarten is actually pretty simple, and because it's very concrete, there's tons of options out there. I found some really great curriculum at the dollar store that is just like practice math, practice letter writing. There's a lot of great options out there for kindergarten. And so like you just have to kind of shop around a little bit. So there's 2 bonuses I would add to my week if I were going to do kindergarten again. These are things that I would do like once a week, not on a regular basis, but I would do them once a week. Number 1, I would do more art. And by more art, I mean not crafts, which are when, think of the turkey thing that everyone does at Thanksgiving, where you trace your hand and you put the different colors and that's a little turkey. That's a craft. So really the only outcome is to have it look exactly like the instructors. That's very different from art. Art is taking a skill that you've learned and making it your own and doing your own thing using those skills. So if I were to go back, I would incorporate more art. And my top suggestion for a solid, simple art program would be Blossom and Roots Art Level 0, which is their kindergarten level. It is very, very simple. It is very easy to do. My only real complaint about it is that you do have to look up the art because of copyright issues. They're not in the book, but it's very, very simple. So it basically works in 3 parts. Part 1, you look up the piece of art that is inspiring the lesson of the week. And you have the kids look at it and have them talk about it. What do you see? What do you notice? What do you think? What does it make you feel? It has questions for you. Part 2, it has a little section that you read and talk about and describe things to point out about the painting. Notice the color, notice the lines. Do you see how it's all the same shape? Things like that. And then part 3 is we're going to take some inspiration from this and make our own art. So for example, one of them art pieces that we did was like concentric circles, and it was just circles inside of circles. And there was like a painting about that. And so the kids got to pick, they would go and like pick a shape, and then they would do concentric shape of that shape, whether it is a heart, a triangle, a square, a diamond, like whatever they want to do, right? And that was our art piece for the week. And it tells you exactly what to do, what materials you need. It's very simple, but I would do that because it was a very fun way to include some like art and art history without feeling overwhelming. And it's a great way to get kids creative and into art. The second thing that I would do in kindergarten, once a week, I would implement poetry tea time. I started this when Alexi was 6 and Zoe was in kindergarten. And I wish we had started it younger because my kids absolutely love it. So once a week we have tea. So we sit down and we have a fancy tea party with china and drinks and snacks and all the things. And while we have our snack, I read poetry to them. And it's fantastic. The nice thing is it's very customizable. So people they're like, oh my gosh, your kids drink tea. Like, that's so nice. Let me tell you, it's not tea in the teapot. No, often it's juice because it's the only time of the week we have juice. Sometimes it's cocoa. Sometimes it's iced tea. Like, you can make it what you want. I know somebody whose kid they have a bunch of boys who would never sit down for a tea party. They're like, that's not happening. They do milk and cookie time. So they sit down and they eat milk and cookies and listen to poetry. But the nice thing about poetry tea time is it starts as just like sitting and listening to stories and poems. Then you can easily like start to like, as they get older, change, and it becomes a time for them to read aloud. So now Alexi and Zoe do some of the reading and they read some of the poems. And then every now and then it also becomes a time when they get to share their work and share the story that they wrote or the poem that they wrote. And so again, when we're thinking of kindergarten as like things I want to implement that can eventually be really helpful down the line, this would be one of them that is just a really nice option. If you're like, I would love to do this, I don't know what kind of poetry books to get for my kids, you can do other books. So some people like to do this as like an extra read aloud time and read some poems. Some people want to get like a nursery rhyme book and read nursery rhymes. We tend to do poetry. These are two of our favorites. They're both by National Geographics, which I love, but they're beautiful anthologies. This is National Geographic Book of Animal Poetry. I also have National Geographic Book of Nature Poetry. And these are lovely books. They're not super expensive by anthology standards. They're under $30, which is a decent price, with great photos from prize-winning photographers. And then there's poems that go with each one, which is so nice. And so we'll sit down and read a couple poems. And I like these because it's a little more concrete. Like, it's sometimes you read poetry and it's like out there. And you're like, this is more than my brain can fathom right now. And kids are just like, we don't know what that means. These are nice because it is a little bit more concrete, because it's like a picture of, you know, stones in the desert. And they're like, oh, we get it. It's a picture of a lily pad. And so they can actually understand and see what's going on, but they still get to start understanding those senses of poetry. So that's what I would do if I was in kindergarten. I would definitely include poetry tea time on a regular basis because it is wonderful and it morphs into so many wonderful things later on. That's what I would do if I was going back and doing kindergarten all over again. Kindergarten is simple in the sense that like everything you show them is new. Everything you teach them is incredible and amazing. Kindergartners are often highly entertained. Like, they're highly entertained by just anything that happens and anything new you show them. And so I think just reading a bunch of great books, having a weekly activity that's like a hands-on lesson, doing a little bit of language and math on a regular basis, and you're golden. Like, it works out. They're going to be fine. I wouldn't make kindergarten too complicated, especially given the fact that it's play-based in the public school system. You're probably getting more in 15 minutes in terms of direct instruction than the public school gets in all day long. So you're good. Kindergarten is fun, it's easy, and you can definitely do it. So thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notifications. Come back and see what we're doing now that we're not in kindergarten on a regular basis by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'll see you guys next week.